It is the year 1300. The air is thick with the smell of wood smoke, wet stone, and the river. Somewhere in the distance, a bell begins to toll. You are not in modern Paris. You are standing on the edge of history itself. This is medieval Paris at the height of its medieval glory. A city of 200,000 souls, the largest, loudest, most ambitious city in the entire Western world. Bigger than London, bigger than Rome, bigger than any city between Constantinople and the Atlantic. And today, we are going to rebuild it. Stone by stone, street by street, life by life, using the most advanced AI of 2026 to show you exactly what your eyes would have seen if you had walked these streets 726 years ago. In the year 1300, France is ruled by one of the most brilliant and ruthless kings in its history, Philip IV, known as Philip the Fair. He is 32 years old, tall, handsome, cold as marble. His goal? Turn France into the strongest kingdom in Europe and Paris into its undisputed capital. The city is protected by the massive stone walls built by his grandfather, Philip Augustus, between 1190 and 1230. Inside those walls live merchants, monks, students, prostitutes, butchers, goldsmiths, and thousands of the
Seine
poorest
River
of the
cuts the
poor.
city into three
The Seine
distinct
River
worlds.
cuts the city into three distinct worlds. The Île de la Cité, the heart, the brain, the soul. The right bank, the stomach and the wallet. The left bank, the mind. And we are about to fly over all three. Look down. The walls glow golden in the morning light. Beyond them, fields and vineyards stretch to the horizon. Because in 1300, Paris is still small enough that you can walk from the city gate to open countryside in 20 minutes. But inside, it is chaos and beauty at the same time. Narrow streets, some only 4 meters wide, twist like veins. Wooden houses lean over the alleys so far that neighbors on opposite sides can almost shake hands from their upper windows. The upper floors jut out further than the ground floor, a medieval trick to gain extra space and protect pedestrians from rain, and from what people threw out of those same windows. Because yes, we will talk about that. We begin where power and faith meet, the Île de la Cité. This small island in the middle of the Seine is the political and religious center of France. Here stands the royal palace that Philip IV has just transformed from a grim fortress into a true palace of justice and splendor. The Great Hall, the royal apartments, the gardens, the private dock where the king's barge is moored. Right next to it, impossible to miss, rises Notre-Dame Cathedral. In 1300, the cathedral is almost finished. Construction began in 1163, 137 years earlier. The west facade with its 2 massive towers, 69 meters high, is complete. The rose windows, those enormous circles of colored glass, flood the interior with divine light. The spire is still the original 13th century one. The famous one that burned in 2019 hadn't been built yet. Inside, 1,300 people can attend Mass. The air smells of incense and wet stone. The statues of the Gallery of Kings stare down at you, 28 biblical kings, each 3.5 meters tall. Just a few steps away, glowing like a jewel box, is the Sainte-Chapelle, built only 50 years earlier by Philip's grandfather, Saint Louis, to house the crown of thorns and fragments of the true cross. The upper chapel is pure light, 15-meter-high walls that are almost entirely stained glass. When the sun hits it, the entire room explodes in red, blue, and gold. This is not just architecture. This is medieval propaganda in its most beautiful form. God is on our side.
3 souls. I will give you 2.
We cross the Grand Pont, the stone bridge lined with houses and shops, and arrive on the right bank. This is the commercial heart. Here are the famous Les Halles, the great market established by Philip Augustus. Two enormous covered halls where thousands of merchants sell grain, meat, fish, cheese, wine, spices from the east. The smell of fresh bread mixes with the blood of animals being slaughtered right there in the street. Butchers work openly, heads and entrails thrown in the gutter. The powerful boatmen's guild controls everything that floats on the Seine. Their emblem is a ship, the same ship that is still on the coat of arms of Paris today, with the motto Fluctuat nec mergitur, tossed by the waves but never sinks. Along Rue Saint-Denis and Rue Saint-Honoré you find the guilds, drapers, goldsmiths, armourers, parchment makers. In 1268, the famous Livre des Métiers listed over 100 different professions with strict rules: who could sell what, how many apprentices, prices, quality controls. This is medieval capitalism in full swing.
Freshly baked bread, warm from the oven.
Now we fly across the Petit Pont to the left bank, the famous Latin Quarter. Here, between 2,000 and 3,000 students from all over Europe study at the University of Paris, one of the first and greatest universities in the world. They speak Latin in the streets. That's why it's called the Latin Quarter. They argue about Aristotle, theology, law, medicine. Thomas Aquinas taught here just a few decades earlier. The Sorbonne College, founded in 1257, is already famous. But student life is not all books. They drink, fight with townspeople, chase women, and occasionally riot when the price of wine goes up. The narrow streets are full of colleges, small churches, and cheap taverns. At night, the sound of drunken singing mixes with the chanting of monks.
We drink until the morning comes.
Now let's walk the streets as a normal person would have in 1300. You wake up before dawn to the sound of church bells, prime at 6 a.m. Your house is probably made of wood and plaster, maybe 2 or 3 floors. The ground floor is your shop or workshop. You throw the chamber pot out the window with the famous cry, "Garde l'eau," watch the water. And yes, that is exactly what people called it. The streets are filthy. There are 26 public baths in the city, but most people bathe rarely. Open sewers run down the middle of many streets. Rats are everywhere. Yet, this is also a city of incredible beauty and energy. Children play in the alleys. Women carry water from public fountains. A procession of monks passes, singing. A knight on horseback forces everyone to flatten against the walls. A condemned man is led to the gallows at Place de Grève. Public executions are entertainment. Food? For the rich, meat, white bread, spiced wine. For the poor, dark bread, onions, cheap wine, salted fish on fasting days, almost 150 days a year. But the energy, the sheer life of this city is intoxicating. Here are some facts that will surprise you. 10% of the entire population of Paris were members of religious orders. About 20,000 monks, nuns, priests, and canons. The university had its own justice system. Students could only be judged by church courts. Philip IV was already preparing the arrest of the Knights Templar. It would happen in 1307. In 1306, he would devalue the currency so dramatically that riots erupted and 28 people were hanged. This is a city at the peak of its power, but also at the beginning of huge changes. The Middle Ages are about to reach their climax, and then begin their long decline. As the sun sets over the Seine in the year 1300, the bells of Notre-Dame ring for vespers. The city glows. The spires reach for heaven. The streets are still noisy. The river carries boats full of wine and grain. And somewhere in the royal palace, Philip the Fair is planning the future of France. This was medieval Paris. Not a romantic fairy tale. Not a dirty hell. but something far more fascinating. A real, breathing, contradictory, magnificent human city. We have rebuilt it with AI, but every stone, every smell, every face is based on historical records, archaeological evidence, and contemporary descriptions. If you want to see more reconstructions, Constantinople 1453, Viking York, ancient Rome, or whatever you choose, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, which lost world should we rebuild next? Thank you for traveling through time with me. I'll see you in the next reconstruction. Until then, stay curious.